And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming out of that break inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They're open for sales and service Monday through Saturday and all the time online at greatlakeshondacity.com. We are here inside of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats. We call it the Bearcat Breakroom, featuring student athletes, coaches, administration, and alum, and it's always my pleasure to invite the Bearcat family to take the spotlight here on Wake Up Call. It was something I thought Binghamton should have had years ago, and I'm very honored that for the last 2+ years we've been able to do it here on Wake Up Call. So, in my Bearcat break room today, we have Jessica Phillips coming to us from CNS and Binghamton Softball history, reflecting on her career and the journey to where she is today. And I love having our alumni segments, and we get to do them throughout the year and typically in the summer as well. So, Jessica, happy to have you here.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. This is an awesome opportunity. I was able to check out, some of your interviews, and I'm beyond humbled to be a part of this.
Well, listen, it's my honor and it's my privilege to be able to celebrate the Bearcat family, and any student athlete or coach should know and hopefully does know that once you finish up, once you're an alum or you retire as a coach or whatever it may be, that there's always a place for you here on Wake Up Call. So any alum that comes through the program, like yourself, Jessica, there's always a place for you to come back and talk about your life and the Bearcats as well.
Well, we appreciate that. That's awesome. It really is a perfect opportunity to be able to reflect. It's funny. It's kind of been a little while, so I had to go back into the memory banks of some things. So, I do appreciate taking that opportunity to do that.
Well, like I said, it's my pleasure and an honor and a privilege. So looking at you reflecting and going back to your time playing at Binghamton University, and when we go back to that time period here, we're looking at Binghamton for you back in the 2010s period. And so, 2010, 11, 12, and 13 after being at CNS. When you said you had to reach back and kind of think back on some stuff, what was the first memory that came to mind about Binghamton for you personally?
So I think for me, it was probably when I missed my diving catch in the America East Championship that I wish I kind of could look back at and redo, but that one hurt a little bit. But I think, the bigger picture was just I walked away with a family. And so when I think about, my time as like a softball player, I think about so many people and, having that opportunity to, share on and off the field experiences with so many people.
And having those on and off the field experiences, I know you talked about one on the field. What's one Binghamton experience from off the field that comes to mind?
That I can say online. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I think one of the ones was when our teammate, a good friend of mine, Kate Price, ended up raising a ton of money for St. Baldrick's. I got to be the mascot, the Bearcat mascot, walk around the school, and we just kind of raised awareness and kind of fundraised for St. Baldrick's event. And she ended up shaving her head and for a really awesome cause. And so I think for me, it was just kind of seeing the bigger picture of a group of people, kind of why we're here giving back to the community and especially doing something, so, brave, I guess.
For somebody that doesn't know about St. Baldrick's, and I'm familiar because there's some things that have been done in my hometown of Syracuse, New York, what would you say to someone about St. Baldrick's and why it's so important?
I mean, I think taking the time, like a lot of people's lives are impacted by cancers, by diseases, by things that, are completely out of our control. And this was an opportunity that, when people have cancer, unfortunately, it's the first thing that, tends to happen is, they lose their hair, and it just kind of makes an opportunity to say, what, like, we're here for you. We're all, united in this. We're all a team going through it.
Yeah. And for you to be a part of that experience, a part of, reaching out to the community and saying, we're here for you. You're not doing this by yourself. Like, we got you. Just what that did for you personally and how it's affected your life in a positive way to be in such a position to reach out to a total stranger and say, you're not going to walk alone.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say stigmas, but there's a lot of things that, it's taken a while for people to want either feel comfortable with, to have conversations, to kind of open up. And I think on a whole variety of aspects. And I think like events like that kind of opens the doors to some of those conversations to kind of, I don't want to say normalize it, but to say like, we're, like you said, like we got your back.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do to help anybody in any way. And of course, St. Baldrick's, the care and the love and the camaraderie of saying, you have to shave your head. Well, guess what? I'm going to meet you there and we're going to do this together. You said you got to be the mascot, Baxter, the Bearcat. So what was that experience like for you?
Well, I accidentally put the head on while I was still in the car and I couldn't get out of the car. So it took me a little bit to figure it out. I think I had I probably still have a red mark from it. But no, it was really cool. A lot of people just, buy into it. It's uncomfortable as all get up, but it was really fun to kind of just let loose and be out there.
How would you describe Baxter's personality and how did you try to bring it to life?
Good question. So I think I would describe Baxter as kind of confident, but a little silly, a little goofy. And so, I tried to kind of be animated. It was hard to like not talk in it either. But just kind of like high-fiving, trying to amp up the crowd, just, vibing we brought some music and I'm a terrible dancer, but I tried my best to find channel my inner Baxter.
Yeah, I think it's in a few people in the world get to, get into the world of a mascot and to bring them to life. So I always find, it's the first time I've ever asked that question to anybody, but I find it to be really intriguing how you see them. And like you said, confident, but a little silly. And so, you said you're a terrible dancer. Did you dance in the costume? Did you try to have some fun? Did you get caught up in the moment, or was it Baxter kind of playing it chill?
I definitely tried my best to get some moves in. And so it was kind of a little bit of both. We were in a lot of different kind of parts of BU. So some places it was a little bit more chill than others. But we definitely tried to make it a really good time for everybody.
Yeah, and here with Jessica Phillips on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, this alumni special in the Bearcat Breakroom and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University here on Wake Up Call inside these Great Lakes Honda City studios. Jessica, to go back to your Binghamton days as a student athlete, before that at CNS, you were a North Star and you will always be a North Star. What is your favorite memory from CNS time and just what your takeaway was from being there?
Wow. It's actually kind of funny. So this past weekend, I was back up in Cicero, and I got together with a few of my friends that I actually played high school ball with. We played Little League together, and we're still, the best of friends. And so, every time we get together, we talk about, some sort of memories of the past, just because they were just so fun.
Yeah.
I remember different things of, from in softball, explicitly, like, going to states, winning states. But I also remember, that team played a lot of pranks on each other and things like, in hotel rooms, people would leave like pickles in each other's bags or just like random, just prank things that just kind of, made it just a kind of a fun experience that you were just always on your toes around everybody.
Who was the best prankster at CNS?
Oh gosh. Um, hmm. I would have to say it's a tough question. I'd have to say probably between there were sisters, Britt Lindley and Nicole Lindley, and the two of them kind of connived some things. And I think that they definitely, like, one year we were in Florida, and I guess I was kind of part of it, but it was Brittany's idea. We collected the lizards that
Hmm.
kind of all ran around, and we slid them underneath our coach's door. And so in the middle of the night, there were like three of them all throughout her room, just freaking out.
Is that the best prank that you feel like you've ever played, or is there one that's better?
Um, I will say that there was probably one that was a little bit better, but I don't know if I could share it.
Okay, fair enough. I understand. I am a prankster that really found out how much of a prankster I was in college, and there's some that are off the air and there's some that are on the air. So
Yeah,
I totally understand it. So
yeah.
CNS, Central New York, you don't go too far. You go an hour south to another part of upstate New York in Binghamton University in the Southern Tier. What was it about Binghamton that sold you that that was going to be your home?
And so I actually, I nobody really prepares you for the recruiting process, when you're going through travel ball and everything. I mean, they're hounding you at eighth and ninth grade to kind of make a verbal commitment as to where you're thinking about going. And at that time, eighth and ninth grade, Jessica was ready to get out of upstate New York and kind of go and be away. So I actually started my career at Stony Brook University,
Yeah.
even though Binghamton had been, recruiting me. And so then I realized about a couple months in that I think I actually wanted to be back home closer. And so it kind of was like a big reflective moment for me. And, I had taken that fall semester off and tried to figure out, what is next. And, back then the rules were much different than they are now. And so, I had to kind of navigate that. And so, but I will say that Binghamton has always felt like home. It's kind of funny, like my parents and I always talk about how on all of our travel ball trips and things like that, when we were coming home, it was like when we saw the Binghamton sign, it's like we knew we were almost home. It felt like home. And I guess at the time, like I didn't really realize how much that really like resonated with me until I realized, like, yes, BU is home for me. So, I ended up working with, at that time, the head coach was Allie Bryan and the athletic director was Jim Norris. And, they were super supportive in kind of helping me figure out how to get there for that spring semester. So I redshirted that first year. And then I started that following fall to be able to be playing in games and things like that. So just, I think for me, it's always been, in the travel ball team I played out of was out of Binghamton. And so I think, like, again, it's always been there. It was like, it was always safe for me. And I think at the time when I made the choice, I thought I wanted something a little different than I actually really realized that I needed.
Yeah, and like you said, you went to Stony Brook, which, isn't too far, but it's on Long Island, so a little bit more of a trek. Being away, still being in the state of New York, but being away, like you said, I thought I wanted something different. I figured out I didn't. What was the moment? Like, did you have a moment where it just clicked with you, like, I'm in central New York, I want to get farther than an hour away. I got to go give myself a change of scenery. When did you get that notion, that reality of, you know what? I really don't want to be out here. I do want to be in Binghamton. I do want to be a little bit closer to home. Like, did you have a crossroads moment?
I think yes. I think that, if I could be completely transparent, I think, like a mental health aspect of being a student athlete is definitely real. And I think, having the weight of, you're a student first, making sure all your classes are figured out. And then also, while also being like that athlete and, getting to practices, getting to lifts, doing all that kind of stuff, it takes a big toll on you. And I think I just vividly remember, like, I was just like, I want to be able to just go home for like a day and just be able to see my family and regroup and reconnect and then like kind of go back if I needed to. But being at Stony Brook, it was not something that was really feasible, especially, traffic. It could take you 3 hours or it could take you 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that feeling of just wanting to be able to go home if you needed to go home. When did Binghamton become home? Central New York's home, but when did Binghamton become a second home for you, essentially?
I mean, I think so. I started playing the 18 and under travel ball team of it was the TC Tremors Gold under Lou Bishop, and we played just right by BCC in the complex over there. And so, between the practices and tournaments and, that being like the hub I started playing 18 and under when I was in 8th grade. So, this area, I knew this area. I had friends in this area. One of my teammates, Bree Andrews, she played at BU. So I was able to kind of connect with her too, to get her experience as to, what she likes, doesn't like, and she lives in this area. Like, I said, I want to be close, but I don't want to be super close. And she's, lives in the area. So like, having that dialogue, at that time was really what I think I needed more of when I'm thinking of that kind of a big decision.
So having the team that you had and the relationships that you had, the current coach of the Binghamton Bearcat softball team was one of your teammates, Jess Bump. So
absolutely.
So bring me into what Jess was like as a teammate and just that experience of being alongside her as a student athlete.
Yeah, Jess was every bit of a hard worker as you could ask for. She came in. She was one of the freshmen that, was starting. She was our middle infield. And I would say that, she worked her tail off every day. And she worked hard, played hard, and I respected that about her. And, I could see she was somebody that was a natural leader where she brought others kind of up to her speed. And that was really awesome to see because we had a big freshman class. And, under Coach Burrell or Flash Johnson, like, she brought in a lot of new recruits. And, I think Jess was a person that a lot of people really respected.
Yeah, and to see her now return to the program over these last few seasons and then a couple seasons ago have the most wins the program's ever had, and for the last 2 seasons to be America East champions back-to-back and to advance to the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years, just what that says about her as a coach. I mean, she's your teammate, and now you're watching your former teammate coach your alma mater to historical moments.
No, it's been awesome. I think, for her, especially, after like the loss of her father, who was an amazing guy, to like, see her out there succeeding and like just growing as a person again on and off the field has been just so rewarding, both as a friend, a teammate, alumni. The girls are breaking records. They're out there doing what they need to be doing. And, I think the coaching staff all around has really, empowered them to do that.
And I mean, for you, a full circle moment, right? To see that teammate to head coach, do you try and get around the program? Do you try to go out and support and be physically there? Have you kept a good relationship with Jess Bump since? Just bring me into that.
I definitely would like it to be more. I know it's crazy because Binghamton is just, right there, but it's just like now that you're out of it, it's like life happens. And, I've been able to get to some games and do the alumni weekend. Jess and I text every so often. We follow each other on social media. So I feel like, I'm kind of up to date with things. We always say we're trying, we want to get together. But, her life is crazy, I can imagine. And so, I'm looking forward to, I know like alumni weekend is always a great time where we reconnect, and it feels like just yesterday that we were on the team together.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it feels like yesterday. It feels like it wasn't that far away from where it is right now. Do you have, I know you said that, a memorable moment for you, something that stuck out to you was going for the diving catch and missing it. Do you have a favorite positive, uplifting moment where you really felt like you came to a place, like you rose to, you had worked so hard, you did so many things in the background that nobody saw, and then here you are in this moment? Do you have a moment or two where you really felt like, wow, this is me being at my absolute best?
Um, yes, I mean, again, it's been so long to be like thinking about this. I would say, and now I'm like blanking on the team that we even played. So, but there was a game that I went like 3 for 4, I think, with like 2 or 3 home runs in that game. And I think in that moment, I felt like it feels good. Like I felt proud of myself for, the hard work and being able to kind of produce in a game.
Well, I want you to be comfortable here, Jessica, in this moment as we read off a bunch of things that you achieved. Your career highs, runs 3, that happened 3 times, and the last time against St. Bonaventure on April 17th of 2013. Your hits career high is 4 against Siena in April 6th of 2011. Your doubles 2 versus UMBC, and that was in 2010, and versus Syracuse in 2012. Almost the exact 2 years. One was on April 2nd, 2010. The other one was April 12th, 2012. And then home runs, you had 2, 4 different times. Most recently in your career happened against Hartford on March 27th, 2011. Your RBI record happened 5 times when you had 4. Most recently in your career happened in 2011 on April 2nd against Niagara. Your walks, 4 against Hartford on March 31st, 2012. Your stolen bases, 3, which happened against Maine on April 22nd of 2011. And your total bases, 10 against Colgate on April 21st of 2010. Your career multiple hit games, 45. Career multiple RBI games, 24. Career multiple home run or multiple home run games, you had 2. And then career grand slams, you had 2. And then longest hit streak, 12 straight games from March 30th, 2013 to April 17th of 2013. You were honored as the NFCA All-Region twice, 2010 and 2011, America East Co-Player of the Year in 2011, America East Rookie of the Year in 2010, America East All-Conference 3 times, 2010, 11, and 12, America East All-Academic twice in 2012 and 2013, America East Player of the Week 4 times, and America East Rookie of the Week 3 times. And I say all of that because guess who's going into the Hall of Fame in 2026? You are, and 13 years later, so just bring me into it. You're now going to be a Binghamton Hall of Famer, not just for softball, but for all sports, all student athletes to ever put on a Binghamton Bearcat jersey. You are one of the few to be a Hall of Famer, and it's happening this year.
No, I mean, when Jess called me, like it was unreal. I am so grateful for the opportunity from BU, just academic side and being, an athlete. It's been like, it's been a while, but it still, resonates with me every day. And everything that, every bit of who I am today is because of the experiences that I had there. And I would not, I think this is exactly how it was supposed to happen. And, while again, I said I started at Stony Brook, I think like this was, the path that it was supposed to be so that, I could be my best self when I was at BU. And, BU has given so much back to me that I am just eternally grateful for.
What did Jess Bump say in the phone call, letting you know that you're being inducted into to the Hall of Fame? What were her words and just how that conversation went?
I'm pretty sure she screamed in excitement and just was like, "You're in the Hall of Fame."
Well, I mean,
No,
go ahead. What were you going to say?
I, again, I think I blacked out, so there might have been other things, but I think like I just was, it was pretty surreal.
Now that you've had some time to think about it, what are your thoughts and feelings in this moment, knowing that you will be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Again, I think like I looked at, some of the people who are being inducted and have been inducted, to be able to have my name next to theirs is insane. And, I have to like pinch myself still just because I'm like, is this really happening? And, I just am honored that I was even a consideration at all because there are so many people that are, that should be receiving something like this. And so I want on behalf of all student athletes like at BU, I just want to say like I'm proud to, represent this.
Jessica Phillips here with us, the inductee for 2026 here to the Binghamton Bearcat Hall of Fame for Binghamton University. And in this Bearcat Breakroom, spotlighting her and her career, as well as what she has done since. And that's all coming to you in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Have you thought about your speech?
I have. I have. And every time I think about it, I feel like I get some emotion and then I want to kind of put it off because I'm not ready to feel some of those emotions. But I think, I want the words to really resonate with everybody about like how truly wonderful this experience was for me.
Well, and I'm sure that when that time comes, those words will come to you and that'll flow from you naturally. I think the best things are organic. Before we get into rapid fire where we could put each other on the hot seat and have some fun with that, let everybody know life after softball. I think it's important for student athletes to know that there is a life, a long life after they're done playing, and you have stepped into a new era for yourself post playing. So what are you doing now? And just bring us into the journey to where you are today.
Yeah, so I stayed at BU for my master's and I got my master's in education and special education. And so for 7 years, post grad, I taught first grade at Union Endicott Central School District just outside of Binghamton. And then kind of just before COVID hit, I just had the opportunity to go back to BU for my CAS in educational leadership. At the time, I wasn't 100%. I loved my job. I loved the kids. I loved the people that I worked with. So, I was not necessarily looking to just, go above to be an administrator. But, as I finished my program, an opportunity arose in the same district. So I'm finishing up my 5th year as an assistant principal here at UE as well.
And being go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, being at Union Endicott, I've gotten to know that school over the years and a lot of success that's come from there. You're right around the corner from Binghamton University, Central New York native, but now here you are staying in the Southern Tier. Why did you want to stay in the area after getting your master's? Just what is it about the Southern Tier and the Binghamton, Endwell, Endicott area that just compelled you to stay there?
Well, I will say I pretty much, I think, stayed for the opportunity to work at UE. I did my student teaching. We do 2 long placements at whatever school that we are at. And mine happened to be at the school that I'm a principal of right now. So I spent a lot of time, with UE, and I loved everything, their vision, their mission, and, the people. And I think, like I told you, like I'm just constantly, looking for that team aspect that I've had the privilege of having, throughout my life. And, I found it there in at UE. And so I think I initially stayed because of that. And then I also took this time because I had time, which was the first in forever, to kind of explore. The cool thing about this area is you drive a half hour any direction and, you get to see something beautiful, different, and, experience a lot of different things. I think it's a great community where the outreach is people want to help each other. People are here for each other. We have BU down the road that, they've come and, read to kids, have been a huge support for some of our, after school events. It's been, just a big community in this area, regardless whether you're Endicott, Edwell, Vestal. It's just, while we have our rivals, it's also, again, we're all here for, the same thing. I did also take the time after college to kind of really travel, because all my summers before that have mostly been traveling for softball. But this time I ended up getting one of those kind of like Ram ProMaster. So it looks like kind of like one of those Amazon Prime vans, and I converted it into a camper van. So I spent time kind of driving. I've gone up and down the coast a few times, and my goal is to go out west a little bit more.
And bring me into this a little more. Just why get into that world, and just the travel of it all. Like what's inspired you to do this?
I think that, again, just there's so much out there that, especially having the opportunity to be able to travel and play softball. But when I traveled to play softball, I was playing softball. Like, that was the thing. But I feel like it kind of gave me a little taste of like what is out there.
Yeah.
And like, for example, like when we did a lot of travel ball, like out in Colorado, my dad would make a special point to, go and do something in that area that like we drove up like a huge mountain, and those are things that I would have never gotten to do had it not been for softball. So now I have the opportunity, I have the time, I have all that. And so there's just so much to experience, and just outside of, the 607.
Yeah. And seeing the world, being in a place that feels like home, that's become home, but then also seeing the world, I completely get that, can appreciate it and respect it. You're a principal, like you said. And so how would you describe the world of education today? What's it like leading a school and, trying to educate? Because it's different now, right? There's social media, there's everything is accessible, there's AI. So there's this whole reality that like kids don't have to learn anything. They don't have to know anything. It's all there for them. There's cell phones in schools. There's a lot of stuff that didn't exist technologically or in, really the culture of America back when you were in school, back when I was in school. So how do you navigate being a principal and being a leader in education today?
Yeah, so there definitely are challenges. I think, I can only speak to the elementary side of things. So our school is K-5. So, we have them before, they're exposed to, too much of it all, even though, they definitely, have a lot of time on devices and things like that. But, this is my fifth year, and the principal, John Michael Shea, he's just finished up his fourth year, and he and I started teaching at the same time at the same school. So it's kind of like working with my brother, right? And it's been a great experience, and we are very kind of like-minded, where our goal is these kids are going to kind of like learn despite us, but we want them to leave, feeling safe, cared for, and loved, but also being good human beings. So the best part about our job is that, there's so many teachers here that we're here when he and I both student taught in this school. So, and this school is a school that has, our English language learners. We have a high kind of poverty rate, but every adult loves kids. And like, so that is kind of like what rings true through the walls as people come in, and you feel it and the kids feel it. And I think for us, like, that's our biggest goal, is celebrating, supporting the adults that, are in the trenches, with the students every day, and then embracing, the students for coming to school every day, being here, being present, and, working hard.
Yeah. Like you said, and the opportunity to help young minds and hearts to grow and to learn and to be together. What would you say is the, from you personally, what do you want a kid in elementary school, that's around you? What would you like them to learn? Like if you could only teach one thing, what do you hope to impart on the youth of today?
I think, well, there's a few. I mean, I definitely I want them to read is what I want them to do. I want them to be able to leave reading because then they can be, successful, in whatever they choose. But I also want them to, I think, walk out of here feeling confident in themselves. And I think, as kids get older, they go through puberty, they, sports, there's so many different, societal pressures everywhere you look. I wish that these kids could look at themselves and feel confident in whatever it is that they're doing. And things might not come easy like reading, but they gotta work. And it's okay that things don't come easy. I think we live in a world right now where, I mean, I'm partial to this too, instant gratification. And there are things that we do need to work for, and things don't come as natural to everybody, but that doesn't mean that, they can't do something.
Well, what do they say? The best things take time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's something to be said about that. Let's get into rapid fire. Any topic, any question, we can ask each other whatever we want. You get to ask the first, then I'll go. What's your first question for me?
What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Big Brother. I'd say
Okay.
Big Brother. I'm not a reality show watcher, but I watch Big Brother. And I auditioned for Big Brother, got called down to New York City and did an open audition there, which was pretty crazy. So that was something unique and special, but I could say that. Definitely watch Big Brother. My question back to you, if you could like literally switch bodies, Freaky Friday, with any celebrity currently on the planet, who would you want to be for 24 hours and why?
I feel like I have to say Taylor Swift. I mean, she has it all right now. So I think for me to be her for a night, that would be a riot.
Okay, Taylor Swift. What's your next question for me?
What is your most used emoji?
It's got to be the crying with laughter emoji. It's got to be that one because I love to laugh and I love to make people laugh. So
Is it the one that's like straight up and down or the one that's like tilted?
I use both, but the straight up and down probably more so than the other, I would say. Okay. If we could describe you in three emojis, what three emojis would describe you?
Oh goodness. Um, Probably the just smiling one. Probably the sunglasses one because I wear sunglasses even when it's cloudy because I feel like my eyes are too sensitive.
Okay.
And then I like to think the dancing one
Okay.
because there are times that moves get busted out.
Okay. Fair enough. What's your last question for me?
Would you rather be stuck in an elevator with a chatty stranger or awkward silence?
It's an elevator. I mean, I guess I would say what happened to me most recently when I was in an elevator at a hotel within the last few days is there was the awkward silence. And then I said hello to the person and asked them how their day was going. And, him and I like talked the rest of the way, which was better than, because I feel like I'm just a type of person to be nice. So like if it's quiet, I feel like, am I being rude? Like, should I say hello? So, but I will say this, after saying hello to them and then getting out of the elevator, they were like walking next to me. And I felt like there was an eerie, like, are they going to follow me to the car that I'm going to? So I felt like I did a good thing, but then I felt like maybe they're crazy. So there was kind of like the dance of, should I have talked to this person? But yeah, I mean, I like to say hello to people. I like to be nice. My question back to you. if you were on a deserted island and you had enough food and you had enough water, what other three things would you bring with you? Like if food and water is already there, what are three things you need to have? Can be a living thing, can be a material thing, just three things.
I would say a flint, a tarp, and I'm thinking about my Survivor watching days. Flint, tarp, and maybe something to catch fish with.
Okay. For those that don't know what a flint is, we know tarp and something to catch fish. Describe why you would bring a flint and what it is.
You need to make fire. So I think it's magnesium. Is it a bar of magnesium?
It's a dark quartz-like stone that produces sparks when struck against steel. So
yes.
Yeah, so you'd want to be able to strike up a fire. Okay.
I would be hoping that I wouldn't need a knife because I don't have one. I'm hoping I'd be able to find something else to smack on it, but I might have to trade my knife for the fishing pole thing for a knife.
Okay. All right. Well, something to catch food, something for shelter, and something to create a fire to keep warm. So very resourceful. Maybe the Survivor is in your future. Jessica Phillips, celebrating our 2026 Hall of Fame inductee, one of the members going in the 2026 class to Binghamton University's Hall of Fame, and celebrating her career as well as where she is today. Jessica, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate a look behind the curtain into your life, sharing your story, and I hope we get to stay in touch, and I definitely look forward to what that speech ends up being for your ceremony.
Yes, Dan, this has been awesome. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity. This is taking me down memory road. So, this is a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for everything you do. And again, I've been watching some of your interviews and it's you cover a whole gamut. So again, to kind of be on this is a really wonderful experience.
Well, like I said before, it's my honor and I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy that we got to spend some time together here today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.